Hi, hello, welcome, and welcome to this stream. This is the part 9 of adding types to enquire. We last time, part 8, we did that in on the 12th, January 12th last week, and so now 1 week has passed. So it's weekend again. I didn't get any chance to do another streaming during the weekdays. It was kind of busy. So now here we are. So without further ado, let's get back to it. Right, let's go. Okay, so let me make it a little bit bigger. Okay. So we're last time where we are at is we start to separate the questions. Try to break it up. Let me go to the code. So this question over here, we start to break up to question base, and then also break it up to other types. So we will try to continue this doing this in this session. But before that, let me show you how are we going to do it this time. So the what we have been doing is adding the types for the input for different kind of questions, right? We go through the all of the supported Boolean prompts like this, the array prompt, the Boolean prompt, and then the prompts that build on top of it of them like this confirm, input, invisible, and so on. So these, while they are useful, is not the primary usage of the enquiry library. Right, the main way, the main mechanism that people most likely to use enquirer is through the initial prompts function. So here, like this, right? You get the prompt, and then you start asking some questions, which is corresponding to this this function over here. Okay, so the difference between the input for this prompt and the other one is that it have this additional type. Right, that is basically the type of the prompt that's going to be instantiated internally, and that's corresponding to the types that we have here, the predefined one, the built-in, and then the predefined prompts, right? So and depends on the types, your input could varies, right? And so in this session, we will try to tackle that first, because the reason for doing it like this is so that we will get a better insight on exactly what are the differences. Okay, so let's minimize that. And so now take a look at it over here. So first, this from last time, and also from the original typing. This was we used the base questions that I have defined here, and then here is the base, which has this type, right? While this is the base form, it doesn't really help us when we try to differentiate the types, right? We want to use the union types to separate them. So what we're going to do here is first, let's change that. So let's move that, let's create a new one, right? And then we expand from it. So put a question, create a question type over here. It would be essentially the same, but instead of just copying them, I want to grow them organically from the input and then also from the test that we have. So the very first thing is we go to the test. Right, this is the one that we want to focus on, and actually not even this one, because you can see that this one is actually getting the prompt class. That's not what we want. What we want is the prompt function, right? So what we want is this function, right? So we don't have any test for that, as far as I know. So we have this, for example, we have this function, and then we can quickly take a look. We have this prompt, right? But this is instantiating the enquirer, which is corresponding to this function. Okay, that is another popular way to use it, but we're not going to do that. We can this is the one that we're looking for. We get the enquirer, get the prompt, and then have a bunch of function tests over here. However, when we look at it, we can see that here it actually start using the instance function again, right? So we want to completely separate them, and you can see also here. So most of the tests except the one over here that we just showed, except this one, the others are all using the instance. So we only really have these two tests, right? And since we have so many different types, the built-in one and then the predefined one, so we will expect to have a lot of tests over here. And since this test is the original test converted to TypeScript, I don't want to put make too many change in this file, right? Because at the end, in the last week in the GitHub, the maintainer of the library, we have a discussion on the issue, and then they saying that for maintainability, they probably don't want to keep the test in TypeScript because it would make other people harder to maintain because they are not familiar with TypeScript, which is definitely fine, right? So when everything's said and done, since I did add a little bit improvement over here, I would like to at the end change all this back to JavaScript, and at the same time don't want to introduce too many changes. So because of that, I'm going to create a new file. So let's call it static prompt. Static prompt.ts, and then write this test over there. Right. So since we are testing just that, we don't need the describe. So let's start with that. And so since we are just focusing on only that function, we can just include that one in, right? So we want to say, okay, now this is what we have right now, right? So what do we want to do? So let's start with the basics, although this might not be very useful, but I think these are the foundations, right? So the first one, this is the array prompt. Let's say it's array. I will need to look at the code to see if that is correct. All right, so let's do that. Well, actually, let's fill in some message. And also, since actually array is the hardest one, so let's first start with string prompt, right? some string input, and then well, since it's async await, it's a promise I'm going to use async await syntax. So this give me an answer, right? So we would expect actually the test that we have is using the assert. So I'm going to do the same thing because Mocha doesn't have it. So we're just using the basic one. Assert from assert. This is from Node.js itself. I used to use this a lot also, but since I use just at the end, I start giving in and just use the expect syntax. So assert equals, the actual one is the answer, and what we expect is the answers, and then with a name. Let's say that, well, let's keep it simple. And then the input, the value is say ABC. And what we need to do is take a look at the existing code. Thing is using the on syntax. Yep. So like that. So let's put that over here. Yeah, let's keep it orange. So right now we first start just based on the existing. I could actually just copy the existing one over, but this is for input, right? So I want to take a look at the string. So just see if that works. Test is okay. Let's have it from jest. Okay. Prompt string is not registered. Right, that's fine. So now I really need to take a look at the code, or maybe I take a look at the old typing, because over here it's supposed to be it's supposed to list them. Nope, it does not. Right, we have this numeral. Actually, I think this numeral is something that I add in, but can't really remember. But in either way, we have this confirm input and all that, and then also have this, but it doesn't have the base type. So with that, then the existing type couldn't help us, and we have to look at the actual code. So this is actually just a prompt. What we need to look at is here. Hold on a second. Let me set up my environment. Forgot to set it up. Oh, come on. This is so annoying. What? Okay, there you go. All right. Sorry for that. So now we're back here. And with that, actually, let me also just relax a little bit, change the background music. So let's come back to this. Ask this question, and then it try to type if it is a function. If not, not type. Okay, and then assert this prompts, right? So this is the prompts that we registered. Let's see, because I need to go back and take a look. Not here. Where's the code? Oh, come on. Index. Right, so this is the index for the big one, for the predefined one. And then this is the built-in prompts. And these are just actually just exported out. So my guess is actually not there. They don't exist by default. But the easiest way to find that out is, take a look at it over here, right? And mark this as the only. And then this shows get the keys. Okay, and run the test. Right. So we can see that these are the things that's available, and you can see that the base type definitely is not there. It's only the built-in the predefined prompts. So that's okay. So meaning this is not a valid test. So let's change that to the first one. Right, the first prompt that we will actually working on. And to keep things simple, of course, we will not necessarily do it alphabetically. We will do the easy one first. So let's just follow the test over here. This is a input prompt. So let me just copy that over here. Right, so we are getting this. And then we just do the same thing, right? Color, this is orange. And that should be fine. It's async and do this. Do we need this callback? I see. It depends. So I don't know if Mocha now support the async await or not. But if it does, then we don't need to do that callback thing. Right. So what I mean is here is it using this callbacks. This is the way that Mocha in the past handles the async. So timeout exceed. Yeah. Ensure that it resolves. Async. This should resolve. Um, interesting because this is a promise, and then it's supposedly it should resolved. But this is a async doing a await, and then it resolve with empty. So let's put some message over here. Just some random message. Does it print out anything? It doesn't print out anything. What? It really doesn't return. Yep, it's start and then start. Show equal to false, then answer, doing all this. That is a bit weird. Let's take a look. Let's comment this out and just bring it over. And then this become a callback. No, it does not. I wonder why. Let's take a look what we do. What do we get here? It's a function fn. If we do the exact same thing over here, what do we get? Because if this worked, that definitely should work. Right now they look identical. Yeah. So very interesting. This one work, but the other one doesn't. Which to me actually makes some sense. But it is weird. Should we go into figure this one out? Let me think. So let me first describe what happened. Let me first describe what happened, because so the system is actually exporting a CommonJS object, right? So there was a discussion saying that when it is exported as CommonJS, you really should not use the named export to the structure at the import. So what I mean is, say over here, when I'm doing importing from assert, I shouldn't doing this to just get the equal function. In The exact reason I can't remember, and then also I remember, but what I remember is that was a discussion on the Babel side and on the Node.js side. So I didn't think that the TypeScript is also affected by this, but seems like it does. Seems like it does, and the interesting thing is, remember that's one of the um, stream that I have. We're showing the one of them when I'm doing it like this, and then when I'm console logging them, one of them is become undefined. So let's see if that is still the case here. So this is that, and then also let do a console log on that, and let's see what do we get. So you can see that, yeah, when I'm doing it like this, the second one become undefined and is false. If I remove this one, well, I remove this one, I have to remove this one also. Okay. By the way, in that stream, I mentioned I opened a ticket. I'll open a ticket in TypeScript. I opened it, but haven't get any feedback yet. So this is continue. So we will see what's going on over there. But in the meantime, I do want to take a look at what did I actually get and why when I'm referencing it this way, the promise is actually it's not working, right? Because it become a timeout. So let's see, what do I have here? And then the other one is that I want to do the same thing for this guy. So this function, this prompt function is this question and rest. So let's take a look at it over here. Question rest, this function. So this get this fn returning it. So it makes sense, right? It makes sense. Although this new, hey, hold on. This new is a problem. I think that's one of the reason. Is probably the reason why this doesn't work. I think this is a bug on the enquirer side. Let's see. Let's do it over here like this. Right, and we see the we can see that's the same function. Right? It's just that when I'm doing it like this, and then the structure, right? Somehow, yeah, it makes sense. So when it try to do the get, so that's what happened here. So when I try to do this, or the original test try to do this, right? This is object is structuring, and what this does is really just a synthetic sugar of saying const prompt equals to enquirer prompt, right? And then so when it does this invoke the get right there with this assigned to the enquirer. So that's why this created enquirer, this is correct, while when doing the import, this is a ESX part that doesn't do this. So so that's why it doesn't work. On the other hand, that's one interesting thing is that well, in CommonJS this work, right? This work in CommonJS because in CommonJS you also actually doing a destructuring equals to require and like this, or the enquirer. And what happened is this call get the enquirer object and then do a destructuring. So that code is identical to the code that I just erased. But when it is in ESM using import export syntax, this is done differently, right? It actually just go in and pick out the that piece of code, right? That's how the tree shake and all that would work. Well, you need to go in there and just grab that function. And probably because of that, the way this is set up is weird. It's not conventional, put it this way, so that this doesn't work in those circumstances. So I would guess if I change this to the class itself to force it not relying on that prompt, then now this test should go through. So let's take a look. And if that's the case, oh, no, it does not. Nope, it does not. That's interesting because this remove all the mention of the this scope already. So supposingly this should work. Let's see. When I'm doing this prompt, going through the questions, let's see what did I get here. Entered, and then let's just print out the enquirer, which should be the class itself. Right, so you get this, which seems right. Right, so the question is when I get this function and do this mix in emitter, that's where it adds the all those functions in here. Let's take a look. Let's take a look at this prompt on. Right. And see what it is. So it's a bound add listener of the events itself. And so when it comes in here, supposedly this doing the emit and it will trigger this, supposedly. Right, because that's what this is. So for this, I can go in and continue to dig deeper into it, but we already spent probably more than half an hour on this issue, and this really is the library's problem, the way how it is implemented, causing this problem. So I think I'm not going to go deeper into this at the moment. I will, once the streaming is done, I'm going to check on the GitHubs to see if anyone have this problem, and if not, I'm open once to so that the the maintainer of the library would know about this. Right. So for now, I'm going to do the same thing as the other test. No, not from. Right. To do this, and then the test should pass. Right. We haven't started anything yet, so let's now focus on this. Okay. So the test pass, and then with that test pass, I would say this should pass also. If Mocha or the version, the Mocha version that the library is using, support the promise syntax. Yep. Yes or no? No, doesn't. What is it using deep echo? I forgot. Yep, there you go. So the Mocha actually does support async await, so that would make the test easier to read, which is what I'm going to do. So because of that, let's put this over here, and so get this in. So now finally we can go back to the original purpose, which is here. So the first type is what I like to do is just completely separate it. So input question, input question equals to type is input, right? And then what else should it support, right? So that we need to go back to our input. Right, so this is based on prompt, and then so we will just get the base. So just let me just start from here. Remove this type, because now we know that this must be a input. And then the input, can it be numeric and or other things, right? So that's what we will need to find out. But I believe it does. I just need to double check it. And for simplicity, so let's change this to just return this first. All right. So with that, we still get all this, not the others, right? And we don't really need to run any tests anymore. because we are only changing the type. So if there's anything wrong, this will tell us. So here, let's see what do we got here. Why this is wrong. Implicit type any. This test prompt is the base prompt, and I'm not changing the base prompt. Why? Did I accidentally change the base prompt? No, I didn't. Oh, here. There you go. So let's see. They have a bunch of README issue from the markdown, but we don't worry about that. So what I want to do is really expanding all this to make sure that the test actually, well, the code actually support all of them. Right. It's a bit more work at the beginning, but after a while, you'll see that it would be beneficial. So you can first see that this name, when we are doing using the prompt here, it doesn't make sense to be having the name missed, right? It must exist, because if not, well, it should fail, right? Hold on a second. Because of these two tests. Well, since I'm copying them and then since I am changing the types, so these two will not be relevant for the time being. And then later on, I will uncomment it when I'm done. All right. So you can see that the test failed and it's not returning anything, right? And it's really not what we would expect, right? So it's unlike the prompt instance itself, that if there's no name or just calling the prompt itself, it will just return the value in the answer. This is returning a empty object. That's definitely not what we wanted. So that's why over here, we also want to make the name to be required. So then the question is, would the function works too, right? So that's another thing we want to try out. Right. So since the others are optional, let's actually see if that is the case. The message is not optional, which makes sense. You need to display something. But the show to false is optional. And this is taking a little bit long, because normally I would like to use Jest and run in watch mode so and just keep going. But you know, again, this is what I have to work with over here right now. Should reset to initial state. This prompt set show to false. Oh, did I accidentally in? Accidentally show that? Maybe I did in one of the check-in. Let me just run it again. I want to make sure that the output of the test are clean. Okay, now this looks better. It still have this function though. Let's see. Nope, it's not for me. Why this is showing? I don't see that message. Oh, it does. It's got printed. Nope, it doesn't. Okay, I'm good. Okay, now this is okay. All right. So this show equal false seems like it actually does nothing. Because the prompt, maybe because of a prompt or what, but I just want to minimize, the information to pass in the prompt at the beginning, right? In it. So this is static prompt. So let's do this. With main option. Okay, so I want to create this as a baseline. Right, so make sure that at least this work. Right. Then I just going to do the basic thing. So with display. Oh, it. Actually, I want to see the result in this one. How do I see the result? Favorite color. Yeah, this actually does get it displayed. But the header and footer is actually not being printed. First was after, what's this? Slice header? Hmm. It really feel like there's something missing. That's all I have mentioned over here with the states. So again, take a look at this, get the Boolean in, and then set option this, and on in the options, this would actually ignore the header and footer if they are function. Right? If this option and function is very key, if that. But my code is not a function, it's just the string variable. Well, string value. So it really should set the header and footer. The question is though, when it is being used, uh, does it show? Does it render? Right. So there is a format function. Initialize, get the format, get this. Yeah, this is kind of like binding it. And then the base prompt is not handling the actual rendering. It's the input prompt, which extend base prompt, and it doesn't handle the rendering. So in what should we do? Seems like there is a lot of things that's kind of missing. So, well, at least from our from the test, we can see that the input prompt at least doesn't really do anything with this header and footer. The message is there, right? So the message is working. And then the example is that the number, string, Boolean prompts, those base prompt does support it. But the input prompt is not based on any of this, right? Just to make sure because what I'm going to do is going to remove that two options from the input question. Is that I'm going to do a const prompt, well, it's just something equals to new, let's say string prompt, right? And then message, well, let's copy this. Prompt.run, right? Yeah. Let's just return. I don't care about the question, and this will get stuck in the middle supposedly. Since I'm not providing the prompts like over here, I just want to see that it's actually working. right? So the string prompt does have it, right? But the input prompt doesn't. So I think that would able to confirm it. Input prompt. Hold on. Input is not a constructor. It's a class. That's even worse. Because this is definitely that. And then the input is being included over here. I know. Well, but the string prompt works, but the input doesn't. So let's do this. So that's why, to me, again, it is very important to actually look at the result, look at the actual code and run and write test for it. So interestingly, over here, if you're using the input prompt, this does show. So the header and footer is being used if you use the input prompt itself. Right. So you can see that is the case. However, if we are doing this, let's just, for the sake of it, just remove that. Remove the prompt so that it will hang in the middle. So we can quote unquote eliminate all the differences. And it doesn't show. Right. My guess is this is another bug. This is another bug that the enquirer team should fix. Well, so we didn't go too far in this session. So let's. It's already past an hour, so let's take a break and recap. So let's go back here first. So what have we learned, figured out? So one thing is we encountered the problem with the name export, and the weird thing of how it is implemented right now and how it used. So we can see that this works when we try to get the string prompts, but when we try to get the input, this doesn't work. If we're trying to get the prompt, it doesn't work. So let's quickly take a look at it one more time. All right. So doing this export. So this code define the export doing this, and so this works. But the one that probably this one doesn't. When it's trying to get this prompts, where was it? Get this static prompt. Here, this one doesn't work with that construct. So well, that's what we learned. And so probably the team need to, when they said they're going to do, they're working on a refactoring of the code, and hopefully this is one of the things that they will fix. But for now, that is the problem, right? And the problem is, to me, is actually pretty serious, because it makes, at least for the TypeScript stuff, it makes it very confusing, because there's no guarantee that if you use the library according to the type, and it will work, because it doesn't, right? And the even weird thing is, like this, you do get the reference, but the functionality is broken, right? And so that's what we have learned about the library. It's not necessarily the case for all of the other library out there. It's just on this one and how it's being implemented. And then we are trying to get the input question, and then we start digging in really through tests to see if the functionality is working or not, and should we add the properties into the options. And we saw that it's not. There are a bunch of discrepancies between different usage, and I believe these are also bug, and it should, of course, it should be fixed. But it will really make the effort of adding type very difficult, right? But we will continue doing this, because one of the thing about the way I'm adding the type is that since I'm using the namespace to organize the types, we actually do have the flexibility to just separate all these questions into their own instance of types, I mean. And then from there, we just figure out what's right and what's wrong. And then when the code is improved, then we can reconsolidate, because remember, TypeScript is a structural type system, so that you don't have to have the same name, right? And obviously, in this case, it even make more sense, right? That's why structural type in most cases is work better than nominal types. So that's what we have learned in this session, and we will take a break and continue. And hope you like this video, and hope you learn something. And we will see you in the next one. Right. Thank you. Bye bye.